Ladies and gentlemen, Arthur Moats, back give you some of my initial thoughts on some of the things that are transpiring around the NFL. Also want to say thank you for tuning in. My last video on my initial thoughts with the AAF. Definitely appreciate your views and your comments. Two things that happened today around the NFL that got the social media world talking, got the media world buzzing, was the Cleveland Browns elected to sign running back Kareem Hunt, formerly of the Kansas City Chiefs, was involved in a incident with a young lady in Cleveland, ended up being released from the Chiefs, sat out all last season. They ended up signing him today. Now, by no stretch of the imagination would I ever support anybody who is involved in any type of violence or physical altercation with a young lady. But I will say this, I am a believer in second chances. And I feel that with Kareem, from all the reports I've been reading, are that he has been taking steps to improve himself. So I do like that aspect. Now, I will say, going forward, after his punishment, and seeing the length of his punishment, that is going to weigh into it as well, because you have to serve your time. You have to have time to grow and learn and self-reflect. So the upcoming suspension that he's more than likely going to face is definitely going to play a role in his development. And it'll be interesting to follow to see how he develops as a person more so than as a player. Now, when we talk about the Kareem Hunt situation, some people like to bring up the Ray Rice situation because they're very similar. Running backs involved in altercations with women. So the biggest difference I feel like between the two is the age. Ray Rice was a lot older. From a talent standpoint, he was on the back end of his career, whereas Kareem Hunt, 23 years old, really hasn't even hit his prime yet. And the last time you saw him on the field, you saw how productive and dangerous of a player he was. So I feel like that is a major deciding factor in this, whereas, like I said, Ray Rice was a lot older. The second thing is the carryover of management. So John Dorsey was a part of the group that drafted Kareem Hunt in Kansas City. So when you think about just the draft in general, the amount of research, background information that goes into players that you're going to draft, John Dorsey has a great understanding of Kareem as a person. So now that John Dorsey is the general manager of the Cleveland Browns, him bringing Kareem over, I feel like he knows him, like I said, especially. And that's why he's more willing and more open to this type of signing when you have a player that's involved in a situation like he was involved in. Now, based off of what I've seen online, Kareem is facing a minimum of a 6-game suspension. Could be longer, just depending on what Roger Goodell feels is appropriate for the situation. But I do feel, a suspension of some length past 6 games is mandatory, just to send home that message that domestic violence or any type of violence towards women or men in general just is not acceptable. Now, Roger Goodell has Kareem Hunt currently on the commissioner's exempt list, so even though he did sign with the Browns today, he will not be able to participate in any of their off-season workout programs or anything like that until the NFL's investigation has finalized of this particular incident, and once the discipline process has been finalized as well. Until then, Kareem will not be allowed to be around the organization. Now, when you think about the Browns in general, they do have experience, in particular, with handling players who've had some controversial off-field incidents. Most recently, Josh Gordon. You think about how he dealt with it, is still currently dealing with marijuana and mental health issues. He dealt with a ton of suspensions there, but throughout the whole process, they stood by him. They made sure that he was receiving the help that he needed to improve as a person, and ultimately led to him being able to come back for some portion of last season between them and with New England. So when I think about that, I do feel there is some type of hope and some type of promise that they will do the same with Kareem and make sure that he's getting the help that he needs to improve as a person. Because a lot of times people will overlook the person aspect because of a player's productivity. But it's important in situations like this that we watch and make sure that he's improving as a man first, as an individual first. The Browns also issued a statement that they don't support or condone his actions by any means, but they do feel he should receive a second chance. And they're also going to have their own requirements that Kareem is going to have to fulfill in addition to the NFL's requirements. So I did like that aspect. I did like seeing the Browns say that publicly. And I feel that they definitely will make sure that he's taking the steps that are necessary for him to grow. Kareem later issued a statement saying that he apologized again for his actions, and he thanked the Browns organization for the opportunity. And he also stated that he's a work in progress as a person, and he's committed to taking advantage of the support system that he has in place to help him become the best and healthiest version of himself. So he's saying the right things. The Browns are saying the right things. There's a track record with the Browns in helping players who have dealt with off-field incidents. So when I think about all of those things, I do feel like this could be a positive situation. I feel like they both could grow, in particular Kareem and the Browns organization, and how they handle this. And it'll just be interesting to see once he has completed all of these tasks, once he has been able to reach the NFL field again with his platform, what is he going to do? Is he going to continue to inspire others and help others understand and learn from his mistakes? That's what I'm most interested in seeing, because like I said, he's 23 years old. He's extremely young. So it'll be interesting to follow him. Now, the next thing that happened in the NFL was Kyler Murray, Heisman Trophy winner of the Oklahoma Sooners, announced today that he will be pursuing an NFL career. Now, the reason why this is interesting and a pretty big deal is because the 2018 MLB draft, he was the 9th overall selection to the Oakland Athletics. Now, initially, everybody thinks, hey, MLB versus NFL, it's a no-brainer to take the MLB money. Well, some of the things that are different when you think about being drafted in the MLB versus the NFL, with baseball, as a 9th overall pick, he received a $4.33 million contract, which was fully guaranteed, but he was not going to the majors right away. He was going to have to work his way up through single A, double A, and triple A ball. For the people who aren't familiar with that, it's a lot of riding the bus to different game locations. The amenities and everything is not up to par with what you are commonly familiar with when you think about MLB or professional athletic facilities. Now, in the NFL, if you're drafted in the first round, depending on how high you go, you can receive a $20, $30 million contract. And in the first round, it is fully guaranteed. So when you think about that, also, he's going to be, the face of the franchise, receive a lot of media attention. It's drastically different in comparing the two. Now, I also think about, just from a talent standpoint, yes, he's very good in both sports. I mean, great in both sports when you think about it. To be drafted first, 9th overall in baseball is insane. But from just following the sport, just because you're a first rounder in baseball does not mean you're ever going to make it to the majors. It's extremely hard to do. There is a lot more players involved in it as well. Whereas with football, as soon as you're drafted in the first round, or as soon as you're drafted in general, you are already in the NFL. You have already made it to the professional ranks. So when I think about that, it is more appealing to take the football route. Now, from a talent standpoint, like I was saying, he would have to work. He's going to have to work extremely hard in both sports, but it's more advantageous for him in the football world just because of his God-given ability to run and throw the ball. He's a leader, very competitive. He has a lot of intangibles that translate right now into the NFL. And the way the rules are set up, it benefits the quarterbacks. So in particular, him at that position, he's going to have a lot more in his favor. From a money standpoint now, this is where things get interesting. We talked about first-round contracts between MLB and NFL, but everyone knows you have a higher ceiling when it comes to contracts in baseball versus football. Your elite players in baseball, they're getting $200 to $300 million contracts fully guaranteed. Like I said, fully guaranteed. Whereas in the NFL, your elite level players, especially that quarterback position, they're getting $100 million contracts, but they're not fully guaranteed. So that's something that you would definitely have to weigh heavily when you're making these type of choices. Also, when I think about just outside of that first contract, when you get to your second and third contract in football, nothing's guaranteed. No matter how well you're playing, if you get injured, management decides to change your mind. It's a lot that goes into that. And I feel like these are things that he has thought about, but it's, like I said, it's different if you're not in that situation yet. So that's something to watch as well with him. I also think about just the injury aspect of it. Obviously in football, 100% injury rate, short-term and long-term. So from a health standpoint, seeing his longevity, is he going to be able to sustain the grind of an NFL career? It'll be interesting because he is very small. When you think about comparable body types, Drew Brees and Russell Wilson, but he's still smaller than both of them, both in height and weight. So, like I said, it'll be interesting to see how his body holds up. But like I said, a ton of upside. I feel like he can be a mega star in the NFL. Definitely can have a ton of success. And it'd be interesting to follow him as well, man. So those are my takes on the two things that happened today in the NFL. And yeah, I appreciate you.